Let's say that you're starting a new business. You have big plans. This is the idea that's really going to take off. You have what's called a pre-revenue business. It's an idea, maybe you have some proof of concept, but you don't really have any money coming in yet, and you're certainly not paying any taxes yet. How do you go offshore, and how do you plan to go offshore with a pre-revenue business? We're going to talk about that in this video. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson, and what I can tell you from helping hundreds of people put their Nomad capitalist plans into place is the pre-revenue business is definitely a different animal. And this is where the behavioral side that I love to focus on really comes into play. Because when you have a pre-revenue business, your mindset is totally different. I think this is important. We've seen, not so much anymore, but when we were starting out with this, a lot of people would come with their pre-revenue business and they would say, hey, this is a guaranteed hit. First year, we're projecting $1 million in revenue, $500,000 in profit. Like, that's pretty conservative. We're going to do very well. And what was interesting is that person who was saying, that their product was going to be a slam dunk, it was going to be a home run, they'd make $500,000, of which they'd be taxed $200,000, of which that $200,000 was really necessary to reinvest because they had even bigger dreams for the product and they needed that cash to grow. Those people were a lot less likely to proceed and to get results than someone who had a smaller business where, let's say, they made $200,000 a year and they were paying $70,000 in tax. The big issue is that for one person, it's real. It's tough. And this is the story that I talked about when I was in business. I talked about it at our very first live conference. What got me into this is that when I was just starting out in business, I got hit with that first tax bill, that first self-employment tax bill. Unlike an employee who just, the taxes are buried in their paycheck somewhere, they just get a check and that's all. I got money and then I had to set some aside and send it to the government, tens of thousands of dollars and eventually hundreds of thousands. And it was painful. It's painful. Even if you take the money, even if you put it in an account called, tax, quarterly tax payment, whatever it is, it's painful to send a big check to the government and see your money, leaving your hand. Whereas what I said in my speech at that first conference was, when I was a kid, I was really into libertarian politics, and I said, this income tax, it should be really low or not at all, and it's so unfair, and it discourages business, but it was all just theory. I didn't have any money to earn. I had summer jobs as a kid. I worked at restaurants, I worked at an ice cream parlor, and I was just the employee, and you look at the check, Med FICA, okay, that got taken out. You just get a net check, and it's all your money. And so for me as a kid, it was basically all theoretical. It took me actually doing it and having to see the money going to really have an impact. And so that, I think, is the challenge that a pre-revenue business is going to face, is you can say that you're going to make a lot of money. Listen, even if you've had numerous businesses before, if I stopped doing Nomad Capitalist and I went and did something else, you know what? At this point in my life, I'm pretty confident with a string of pretty successful businesses under my belt. I'm confident the next thing wouldn't suddenly suck. I'm confident I would do all right. But, until you've made the money, you just don't know how it feels. And so even if you're a serial entrepreneur and you've had a string of hits, I think there's always a different mindset because you're not seeing the money leave now. One thing I tell people who are currently running businesses, let's say you're paying, let's say you have that, my proverbial example, $1 million a year income. Let's say the tax is, $365,000 a year. That's $1,000 a day. Every day you fumble not setting up your plan, you're losing $1,000 basically. Or if you're going to cut the tax by 80%, you're losing $800. Every single day that goes by, you just lost $800. Take it, flush it in the toilet, burn it, throw it in a dumpster. It's gone, never to return. You can't get it back, right? And so there's an urgency there. That's why I tell people, you want to have a plan, because when it comes time to executing, you just follow the plan and you're not going to be fumbling around, wasting time, losing $800 a day in that case, right? the urgency just isn't there. No matter how much you think, no matter how much you philosophically a pre-revenue business. In my experience, in my own personal experience, listen, I sold the last time I sold a business. I remember I took some time off. It was early in the days of Nomad Capitalist, the website. I took some time off. I woke up early in the morning. I just started writing. I didn't care about making any money at all, but I was also much more conscious about spending money, because even though I had a bigger pile of cash in the bank account, I'm like, well, I don't have an income right now, right? And I wasn't really trying to monetize Nomad Capitalist at the time, and so I was a bit more conscious, and so if I were to do that again now, I think I would feel more comfortable than I did then, because the numbers would still be bigger, but I think I would slow down. And so the point is, as long as it's funny money, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how financially savvy you have, there's just something that clicks different in your brain. So here's the two things that I would do if I were a pre-revenue business and I wanted to go offshore. Number one is I would get really honest with myself. I'd be really self-aware and figure out, do I want to do this? Not only, how successful is my business really going to be? Because obviously, pre-revenue business, we all have big dreams. And, the rule of business, is everything, costs 3 times as much, takes 3 times as long, and you're not the exception, right? I mean, so be really honest with yourself. Is this a priority? Okay. But also be honest, where's this going? I think what sometimes makes sense for folks is, even though strategically, particularly if you've had success before, and particularly if you can afford it, strategically it makes the most sense to just, anytime you start a new company, do it the proper way offshore, okay? And just start from day one. So if you have trademarks, if you have patents, if you have revenue, if you have customer lists, whatever it is, it's easier. You don't have to migrate everything from onshore to offshore later. But what I think might work better behaviorally for a lot of folks is have some kind of proof of concept, have some kind of revenue, have a little bit of pain that motivates you to get it done. Is that the most optimal way to do it? Financially speaking, no. But I'll tell you, I had a situation recently where a guy came to us a couple of years ago. He had a business that was worth a couple $1 million. Came back to us recently. Now it's worth $50 million. Okay. So to him, the need wasn't there. There just wasn't as much of an urge at, I don't remember what it was. He's making a couple $1 million. For him, it wasn't a big urge to, have to leave Australia to save $500,000. He said, I'd rather be here, pay the $500,000. Now he's looking at an issue where he's going to have tens of millions of dollars in tax. And so I think that the issue there was not finding that exact point where there's enough pain to do it. And now he's gone too far to where now it's really painful, but we can't go in and erase the past. So you think you have to be really honest with yourself about, where are you going with it, and at what point is it really a need? I'm not going to say don't set it up from the beginning. I'm just going to say you're probably going to struggle. The second thing is look at things actuarially. This might help you with the first thing. Look at things actuarially. Okay. I often make decisions by saying, if I, have I've got the chance to make $1 million, for example, and if I would pay that $365,000 on tax, and that, what's it worth for me to spend to prevent that? What's the percentage chance you'll make the money? What's the percentage chance you'll have the tax? If it's the 20% chance, then 20% of $365,000 is 73 grand. So if I can spend less than that, then that's a good deal. I like to look at a lot of things in life actuarially. I like to look at things as if I'm buying insurance, right? If there's a 0.1% chance that I'm going to get in a car accident and need hospitalization, and I can insure that event for less than 0.1% of the cost, then that's a good deal. It's a good risk transfer. If I can't, then I self-insure, right? And so, if you're the guy who could have a $50 million company, and you want to sell the company at some point for $50 million, and you start that company in, let's say, the United States, and it's run in the United States the whole time, you're going to have a pretty big, capital gains tax event when you sell that business, in addition to all the income tax. Let's say it's a $20 million tax burden over the life of that company until it's sold. Well, if there's a 1% chance of you having to pay $20 million, that's $200,000. If you can pay $75,000 to set up a pretty robust, offshore structure and get that done, actuarially speaking, that's a good deal. Okay, but again, you have to match the actuarial part and the financial part with the behavioral part. And you have to understand, what really is real here. That's been the biggest challenge I've seen with pre-revenue businesses. And I think you really need to be honest about what is it that works for you? What is it that motivates you? And then do that so you don't end up being in a position where you're in far too much pain because you didn't take those factors into account. Hi, I'm Andrew Henderson from Nomad Capitalist. I wrote this book, which you can find on Amazon, to distill a lot of the stuff we talk about in these videos and a lot of the stuff I've learned over the last decade plus traveling all around the world, teaching you about how to legally reduce your taxes, build your personal freedom, and create wealth faster. Definitely get a copy of this book if you want to learn more. Now, if you want to watch more videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel and make sure you click the notifications bell so you never miss one of our new videos with more tips on how to go where you're treated best. And if you're already a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur and you'd like to put these strategies in place for yourself, go to nomadcapitalist.com and learn about how I can help you.